Hey guys, today we're going to add the last step that you need to know for solving equations, which I like to call the BUF, meaning big ugly fraction. Although it looks scary, really it's very easy to solve. Um, the BUF step goes at the beginning. So now instead of looking for the distributive property first, we're going to be looking to see if we have a big ugly fraction first. Here is what it looks like. One side of your equation, or possibly both sides, will be a fraction, and the fraction will have math in it. You'll see addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, something in that fraction. And in order to solve this equation, what we really want to do is make this not look like a fraction anymore. And luckily for us, it is very easy to do that. Like I said, you will know that you have a big ugly fraction if there's at least one side, could be both, that's a fraction with math in the numerator or denominator. If you look at this example, we have both sides have math in the numerator. On this second problem, we have math right here in the denominator. On the third problem, we have math right here in the numerator. We also have math on the right side, but it's not a fraction. But we do see a fraction with math in it. So the question is, how do we solve this? How do we get rid of this fraction? Our first step is going to be to eliminate the fraction. We're going to get rid of the fraction right away, and we're going to do that by cross multiplying, and then we're going to solve the rest like normal. So here's an equation, 11x plus 6 over negative 2 equals 19. And I want this part to not look like a fraction anymore, because I wouldn't even know what to do with this, right? So to cross multiply, you really need to have two fractions. So what we're going to do is take the side that's not a fraction, and we're going to put a 1 underneath and create a fraction. So now I have a fraction on the left, a fraction on the right, and all I have to do now is make my little butterfly wings and cross multiply. The 1 will multiply times the 11x plus 6, and the 19 will multiply times the negative 2. And we have to be careful that when we are multiplying with the side that has the math in it, that we use parentheses like this to show our multiplication, okay? I was looking at this problem right here. Let's say that this 1 was really a 3, and I had to do 3 times 11x plus 6. Well, if I use a dot, then I'm really only multiplying 3 times 11x, and then this plus 6 is tacked on the end. This is like an order of operations problem. And what I want is for 3 to multiply the whole thing. So whenever you see math, you're going to want to group it and then multiply. Okay, group it and then multiply. Let's take a look at another example. If both sides of the equation are fractions, you don't have to put a 1. You can just cross multiply, like on this one. So you're going to have 2 times 5x minus 8, group it. Negative 3 times 4 plus x, group it. And then you're just going to write it like this. Now, does it matter which side you multiply first? Not at all. You could do the negative 3 part first, like this, and the 2 on the other side. It does not matter. You will get the same answer either way. But the grouping with the parentheses is very important. And when you're multiplying, when you're writing it, you want to put the single number first and then the group after. You don't want to write it, for example, like this. That's just weird looking. We want the number we're going to distribute, we want that up in the front so that we can make the rainbow. Okay. The easiest way to show you how to do this is to show you some examples, so follow along here with me. Here is the first example. This is a pretty simple one. We ask ourselves now, do we have a big ugly fraction? I look at the problem, yep, I sure do, because here is a fraction that has math in the numerator. So I do have the big ugly fraction. So the first thing I want to do is get rid of that by cross multiplying. Since the 8 is not a fraction, I'm going to make it 1 by putting a 1 underneath. And then I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to group my 4x minus 8. I'm going to put the 1 in front of it. On the other side, I will have 5 times 8. Remember, this is multiplication, so make sure that you put one of them in parentheses. You could do it like this also. That doesn't matter, but as long as you're not putting 58, it's all good, okay? Now, do I have the distributive property? Yes, I do, right here, although I'm multiplying times 1, so really the answer is the same. On the right side, I'm just going to multiply and simplify that. I do not have like terms in this problem. I have one circle and one box. Those are not like terms, so I'm going to skip that. I do not have an extra variable. I have an x here, but there's no x on the other side, so I can skip that. I do, however, have the extra constant, this -8, so I'm going to 0 pair that like this. Then I'm going to divide by my coefficient, and I'm going to simplify and get 12. That is how we handle the big ugly fraction. Okay, let's take a look at a few more. Here is the second one. I see right away I've got a fraction with math right here in the numerator, so I do have a big ugly fraction. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a fraction on the other side, and then I'm going to cross multiply. Remember, I want to group these together, so 1 times 5 minus 8d, and then 41 times -3. That takes care of the big ugly fraction. Now I've basically just rewritten the problem in a way that doesn't have a fraction in it anymore. Distributive property, again, I'm multiplying times 1, so it's just 5 minus 8d. I can multiply the right side and simplify it. That would be -123. There are no like terms because I have one box and one circle. Can't combine those. I do not have an extra variable because there's a d on the left, but there's no d on the right. I do, however, have an extra constant. Oops, that should be a check mark. Here's the variable. The 5 is extra. And guys, remember, this is a positive 5. The negative goes to the 8d. So if this is a positive 5, I need to subtract 5. And I'm going to have -8d equals -128. Then I can divide by my coefficient. And d equals 16. I think it's 16. Okay. So there's two examples where you create a fraction by putting a 1 underneath and then cross multiply. Let's take a look at one where both sides are already fractions. So I have a fraction on the left with a bunch of math and a fraction on the right. So yes, there's a big ugly fraction. What I'm going to do is cross multiply. 2f times 3, I can just write like this. But for the other side, remember, I want to group the math, okay? So I'm going to put my single number in the front, and then I'm going to multiply like this. All right, you can draw the other half of the butterfly if you want to. Distributive property is right here, and we've got 3 terms on the inside. So 2f times 3, we're just going to simplify this to 6f. This is going to be 6 minus 15f plus 36. Okay. Do we have like terms this time? Yes, or we do, because on the right I have a constant, I have a variable, and I have another constant. So I'm going to keep my variable, and 6 plus 36 is 42. I do not have an extra variable. Oh, actually, wait. Yes, I do have an extra variable. I have an f on the left and an f on the right. Aha, so we need to get rid of one. I'm going to 0 pair the -15f because it's smaller. That just gives me the variable that I have remaining will have a positive coefficient, not a -1. And then I do not have an extra constant this time. Here's the variable. There's nothing else with it. This 42 is not the extra constant. Extra constant would be if there was one on the same side with the f, but there is not. So we can go straight to the division, which is right here, and f is equal to 2. Okay, let's look at one more like this. All right, so I have 3x minus 14 over 4. I have -x plus 7 over -6. So I definitely have the big ugly fraction. Remember to group your math, and then we're going to multiply. I'll start on this side. So 4 times my grouping, and then on this side, -6 times my grouping. All right, so now we've rewritten the problem so it doesn't look like fractions anymore. We can go to the distributive property, and we'll have -4x plus 28, -18x minus 84, no, plus 84. Negative times a negative is a positive. No like terms because I have one circle, one box, one circle, one box. Those are not like terms. I do have extra variable because here's a -4x and here's a -18x. I will zero pair the smaller one. This will be 14x plus 28 equals 84. I will zero pair my extra constant, which is this 28 by subtracting. I can't talk right today, guys. And this is going to give me 56. And then I'll divide by my coefficient. And x is equal to 4. Okay? So this, my friends, is how you solve the big ugly fraction. You rewrite it so that the fraction no longer looks like a fraction. We turn it into multiplication instead, and then we solve the way that we've always done it. If you have any questions, please email me.